Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is I, Jay Burch, the messenger. Welcome to my channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, do the same thing. If you're on Instagram, follow a brother, man. So listen, Happy New Year. I recognize this is the first message from the messenger in the new year, in the new decade. So with that being said, in this video, I want to discuss with you all who you are. It's time to draw a line in the sand. It seems like there's a lot of individuals now who are waking up, if you will. Their consciousness is coming to pass. And so in this particular video, I want to touch on who you are, what you believe to be true about yourself, and this thing we call religion. So stick around. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so again, I am Jay Burch, the messenger. My goal is to inspire you guys through an honest conversation, of which I've been a student of for a number of years now. And so I realized that one of the best things that we could possibly do for another individual is to share our testimony. And so that's what I hope to do in this particular video. It won't be a long video. In fact, I'll lay the groundwork now. I'm going to inspire you guys a lot of different ways in this new year, in this new decade, specifically with how to get into business for yourself if you're already into business, how to increase your sales, your customers. But that aside, I really want to inspire you all to think differently about who you are in this game called life. So with that being said, in all of my videos, specifically if you're on YouTube, you will find all of the books that I will speak to you guys about in the link in the description, how you can get your own. There's also going to be in some of these descriptions that I have on YouTube specifically, I'll show you how you guys can get a free Audible 30-day trial. I use Audible. Audible is one of the easiest ways for me when driving, commuting in traffic, to eat up a lot of these books, listening to them, of course, and then, going back and reading along with Audible. But I'm going to share all of that with you. All right. So with that being said, let's get into today's conversation. So, for me, I took a journey, or started a journey, I should say. It's been, so this is 2020, I would say towards the end of 16, taking a journey to learn more about self. And I think that's what happens a lot in life. I think you're going to get to a point, specifically as an adult, where you're going to find that change is a necessary. And what I know to be true is change is a necessary, but not everybody is willing to change. And so in this conversation today, a lot of what I want to discuss with you is as it relates to, this thing called religion. Now, this isn't a black or white thing, a man or woman thing. This is a people thing. But specifically when I do talk about religion, I do want to kind of put an emphasis on people of color. And when I say people of color specifically, I'm talking about those who are now in the American experience. So Africans in America, African Americans, Afro Americans, Black Americans, however one might identify, all right, or people of color, right? So when you talk about the word black, for example, if I give you a color, this is black. And when you look at black, this is really black. If I put black next to me, I am not black. My son asks all the time, is that person brown like me? Is that person white? Is that person, he's got the idea of colors. But one thing I recognize is that this is black. He knows this is black. He doesn't identify with our skin color as black more than he represents it with brown. So one of the things that I want to start off talking about in this particular video is how do you identify yourself, and how do you teach those children coming up how they should identify with themselves? So here's what I know, being a parent. I've got a 5-year-old and an 8-month-old. This is what I know through my own willingness to learn about self, is that I recognize that we're all programmed at an early age. And so what I mean by programmed is science has proven that every single adult that is existing right now was once programmed as a child from the ages of 0 to 7. Technically, the second to last trimester really is when the programming begins. And when we say programming, we're talking about what does a child learn over the first 7 years of their life. Now, why do we talk about the first 7 years? Well, because science has proven that this is where all of humanity is learning. Nature is giving each one of us a program. And these programs are built based on the 5 physical factors. So we talk about what we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell, right? Did I get them all? Hear, see, taste, touch, and smell. There it is. So those are the things that we use to program ourselves so that when you're now an adult, I'm 42 years of age, much of what I have learned, in fact, 90 to 95% of our day-to-day living is done on autopilot. So this is not going to be a very long video because there's a lot of things that a brother needs to share with you rather than just throw a lot of information at you. So why I differ from a lot of other people, right? So again, I got to draw the line in the sand. I am different and unique to a lot of other individuals because I believe now, having been a corporate trainer for almost 8 years and understanding how people learn, there's 3 styles of learning, right? So some people want to hear, some people need to see, some people need to write. So understanding that everyone learns in different ways, we must first start off with the basic understanding of who we are as individuals before we even get to this thing called religion and all of the moving parts that go along with that. So first you got to understand that a child is being programmed up until the age of 7. So how is this possible, Jay? Okay, great question. For the first 7 years of a person's life, your brain waves are vibrating at what is called a theta, Theta, or hypnosis state or vibration. So this means that the first 7 years, everyone is in a hypnosis or theta state, meaning you're soaking up all of these things that your physical factors are giving you. So when we talk about a person being programmed, this is where it starts. So we all know a child does not know color. A child does not know, stereotypes and biases, only to be given to them by those who are around them. So this is a great conversation for any parent, any grandparent, any aunt, uncle, cousin, whoever is in the life of a younger child right now who is still growing. If that child is not yet 7 years of age, what you got to understand is all the things you say, what they see you do, what they hear you say, this is building their program. So this is important to understand why a lot of what individuals are experiencing in their life is based on a program that was given well before a child even understood what reasoning is or how to use it. So what you got to understand is in the first 7 years of anyone's life, a person is programmed based on this hypnosis state. Now, the other part of it is we'll talk in another video. Much of that child's life, in fact, all of that child's life, the first 7 years is it's all possible through deductive reasoning. So what that means is a child doesn't even have the ability to think or work with the power of thought based on what is given to that child in the first 7 years. So deductive reasoning says that whatever is given through those physical factors, a child just receives through deductive reasoning. In other words, that child cannot work with the power of thought to accept or reject that information. So understanding this right now in this video, you guys got to understand you are playing a huge role in the life of a child. Now, you yourself, you've got to stop and understand that even where you are right now in your life, 20, 30, 40, 60, 80, you've been programmed as well, my friend. And if you've never stopped to even understand how that works. And so here's the other part about this. The information that is shared in most instances to people who have never heard this information before, or it's shocking, it creates what is called cognitive dissonance, meaning that this information is disturbing. It goes against everything that a person has ever been led to believe. So cognitive dissonance is real, and it can almost keep a person from moving down a path of breakthrough, of lifting the burden of breaking out of prison when this information is shared, because it is now disturbing and it creates a feeling in a person of discomfort. And it creates oftentimes a point where a person says, man, I can no longer go forward because this goes against everything that I believe to be true. And so even for the sake of holding on to an untruth, because it's been passed down from generation to generation, a person is willing to overlook truth, to overlook the possibility of freedom mentally, spiritually. All of that they're willing to give up just to hold true to this family belief, or this generational act that has been passed from one to the next to the next. So a lot of this you guys got to understand. Listen, you know, Harriet Tubman, as I paraphrase, said, I freed thousands of slaves. I would have freed thousands more if they'd have only realized they were slaves. That holds true for the human experience. Many adults right now are held hostage to old school mentalities. You've heard of, what's the saying? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Listen, you can teach an old dog new tricks. It's just that old dog has to get out of the habit of being comfortable. See, so when I mentioned earlier in this video, change, it's inevitable. Change is inevitable, but change only occurs when a person is willing to accept the change for the better of who they are. So I'm going to start this first video off by saying to you, in this new year, here's what I know is true. There's not a person who at this particular point in your life who says you want more, you want to accomplish more, you want to receive more, that there's no person at the sound of my voice or watching this video will accomplish that without change. Now, when change comes upon you, here's what I know. Change will create a discomfort in you that will either require you to do more, to learn more, to have to grow, to have to evolve, or you will say, I don't really want to change, and you'll stay where you are. But the thing about it is you're actually not staying in the place of comfort. You're slowly sliding backwards. You're slowly regressing. You're not moving forward. See, this is what you got to understand about life. Life, for the advancement of, requires that a person or an organism evolves to exist. And right now, my friends, if you're watching this video and you've never stopped to think about all of the things that you've learned up to this particular point in your life, all of the things that you believe to be true, if you've never stopped to reevaluate what you, in your indoctrination to religion, to all of these things that we look at as part of our daily experience in life, if you've never stopped to reevaluate, how do you know that you're traveling down the right path? The other part of it is, how do you know these lives, these young lives that you're now having a part of impacting in a positive or a negative way? How do you know that if you've never stopped to reevaluate everything that you know to be true, how do you know that you're not passing on mistruths or false narratives to those who are coming up behind you. So this is the question, you all, that you must ask yourself starting in this video today. Now, I hold true to my form. The messenger is not in the business of trying to convince you. I'm not telling you to accept any of this. Hopefully you won't just automatically reject it. But what I know most people do with information is they will neglect information. But what you got to understand is as you start looking for information and you start to find out new things about who you are, you can do several things. But one thing I know most people do is they neglect the information. And a lot of times they neglect it because it causes something in them. It causes that cognitive dissonance to rise up. And then now it says to a person, well, that goes in complete contradiction to what you believe, what you've been taught. The other part of it is when you start to learn new things, we have a tendency to worry about what other people think about us now as we start to learn new things. So for you to be free, for you to take your family in the direction that your family needs to go, for you to accomplish new successes in the new year, in the new decade, for you to reach that new level of positive self-living defined by you, it will require you to do all of these things, to stop and think about what you've been doing all of this time. What do you believe to be true? And what path are you currently set on? And if you find out that things that you've been doing aren't moving you in the right direction, then friends, family, my recommendation to you is start to figure out what is the correct path, right? And not worrying about what another person thinks about you. What you got to understand is change is inevitable. And as you begin to change, you will move in a direction that not everybody will be for. Not everybody will be comfortable with you growing. A lot of people will try to prohibit you from growing. Because what happens is when a person grows, a lot of people who are observing it, who are watching you grow, they don't want to see you grow because there's fear of losing. So there's a lot of things that you guys have to take into consideration as you begin to learn the truth and as you begin to take on the challenge of swallowing the horse pills of truth as it relates to your own life. So in this video, we are starting to look at what is the real story. What is the real story? What are the real truths about you and who you are? What have you been led to believe up to this particular point? What have you heard? What have you seen as a child that might be getting in the way of you getting to that next level of success? Right? Don't you realize that there's something that's stopping you? There's the inner voice in you that doesn't necessarily agree with all of these things that you've been taught, that you've been heard, that you have heard in your life, things that you believe to be true. Right? So there's inner conflict externally, because what you believe internally, it's not gelling, right? It's not gelling. So stick with the messenger. Again, I ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. What information do you want to learn more about? What information have you heard that is creating something in you that says, man, I want to learn more, Jay, but I feel like the individuals around me aren't supporting me in my becoming a better version of myself, in me growing. And that's just what it's going to be, y'all. So you will now see that as you grow, it will be necessary for you to involve and to insert yourself with those individuals who are of like mind, of like activity. Those individuals that are not going in the right direction, I'm not saying that you have to divorce yourself from them, but you will have to start to look at how much time, how much energy are you surrounding yourself or giving up in those circles that you've been a part of all your life. So with that being said, again, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, please comment, share this information, but stay tuned, man. My goal is to inspire you to go into the next season of life, whatever that looks like for you. Enough of this conversation and all these individuals who just want to give you a positive word, but no actionable steps. Like it's time to step on the neck of false narratives and give people a truth conversation that can set people free. All right. So with that being said, man, I will talk to you guys soon. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Stay in tune. The Messenger will be back at you again with some more truth seeking, freedom allowing conversation. Talk to you soon. Peace.